Tales Noir is one of those games that seems like a straightforward story with straightforward gameplay, but then it hits you like an M. Night Shyamalan film. You are Howard Lotor, a private investigator, a raccoon in a trench coat. You live in a small one-bedroom apartment with a classic red web investigation board on the wall. At first glance, this seems like it's going to be a gameplay mechanic, like a typical mystery game, but it's not. Every character is an animal, and the apes rule the city. The city is surrounded by the wall, and society believes that there is no life outside the wall, only death. You get your first and only case from a phone call from Adette Green, who wants you to provide proof of her husband's infidelity so she can divorce his ass and move on with her life. Snap a couple of pics of him being unfaithful, and you'll get your full payment. Boom. Case solved. Jeremy, or Jez, typically hangs out at the Bite, a cocktail lounge straight out of the 1940s. An otter in a green hat and tie. Pretty straightforward. This takes you to Granville, the business section of town. It's night, it's raining, the city is alive like it always is. You talk to various characters around town in an attempt to narrow down Jeremy's location. The Bite's bouncer wants nothing to do with you. It's up to you to figure out how to get in. Come across Larry in an alleyway, an old friend who's hard up on his luck at the moment living under the bridge. Larry lets you know that Johnny has some pull with the bouncer. Johnny takes a little convincing to talk the bouncer into letting you in. The Bite is your classic ritzy downtown bar, lounge singers, expensive drinks, an upstairs area where preferred guests can pay for private dances. You make your way through the crowd asking about Jeremy, but no one is willing to give up information about their clientele, which leads you to Clarissa Bloodworth. She owns the Bite and sees right through you and asks you to leave. Now you have to find your way back into the Bite, but not through the front door. Come across Florence in an alley, and she tells you they're holding her daughter and they won't let her see her. The delivery van in the alley gives you an opportunity to get the back door. First playthrough, I failed this section and had to find another way in. The second time through, I guessed the correct dialogue order and the back door was open. You easily sneak upstairs, and this brings up the next gameplay mechanic, where you hide and crouch in the darkness so the bouncers don't detect you. You easily sneak past them to get into the room Jez was in his tie and his hat and some traces of monkey butt. The new hot drug on the market sold out at this location. Behind the painting on the wall is a secret lift that takes you to the back rooms, across a large, out-of-place boiler, a storage room, and a kitchen. After sneaking past the cooks, you'll come to a locker room in the next puzzle. I rather enjoyed this. You have to arrange the articles and corresponding covers that lead you to the door code. Really though, anyone who would go through the trouble of making this elaborate disguise for the code would probably just remember it. This leads you to the lift that takes you to the basement. The basement is dark, grimy, and uncomfortable. After finding the lights, you discover a body. Jez's body. He's recently deceased and stinks of drugs and booze. They're cutting up his flesh into chunks for reasons we will find out about soon enough. Now your goal is to get the hell out of there alive. Welcome to Tales Noir. You escape and take rest on a bench in a nearby park with a bottle of booze and some time to think about what just happened. Get some life advice from a homeless man named Looney, and you are followed into the dark by some thugs who just want to beat you down. I told them to get fucked, and they knocked me down and spit on me. You are awoken to someone standing over you, Renee. She brings you to her hideaway by the docks to have a chat. Turns out she's a writer, trying to suss out information on the city's leaders. You tell her why you were at the Bite to begin with and what you found. You and her team up to get to the bottom of the Bloodworth involvement. She mentions the Sterling cider van that was in the alley wasn't an actual official delivery truck, and maybe we should track the deliveries and investigate. Before the night's over, you call your mom and Odette and give her an answer to her husband's whereabouts. You also call Anatoly, a good friend of yours and a local cab driver. He's your method of getting around town now, and the comic relief. This brings you to Gastown, the rich part of town. The goal here is to find a location that has Sterling cider and is expecting a delivery today. The truck arrives at a liquor store and you go in to question the owner, Lewis. After threatening him a bit, he leaves a key for you to investigate the crates yourself to discover that these are indeed chunks of flesh. You demand he gives you the crates to make the delivery to the next location yourself, and he agrees as long as no one will find out. The rest of Gastown has a few more characters to meet. You can sit and feed the birds. On my third playthrough, I found out you can set up the old lady feeding the birds with the old sad man that's looking for his late wife's ring. After you leave, they are sitting and chatting. You let Renee know your findings and hit the road with Anatoly again for the delivery building. Talk to the front desk and get access to the elevator. You can stop and talk to Nicky the wolf, but he's just full of himself and he doesn't help the story along. You go up to the 11th floor and knock on the door to make the delivery. The housekeeper takes the delivery and that's all you learn. Fairly uneventful. So you decide to sneak out of the fire escape, scale the building, and get a closer look at what's happening inside the apartment. You meet Geezer the goose. He'll come up again later. Cool dude. You get stopped by Searchy, who's all about your butt, and you sneak inside the office of the apartment. You get stopped by two kids who are destined to ride their parents' coattails and never have to do any hard work their whole life. You get a peek into the dining room to find the city's top figureheads are currently eating the flesh that's recently been delivered. You search the desk, steal some documents, and try to gather some intel. Back at Renee's apartment, you go over the documents with her to discover the science minister, the chief, and Clarissa are all in cahoots, doing experiments on unsuspecting citizens and eating flesh. We need to find out where the missing people are coming from, what happened to them, and we need to get into Science City to find out what they're researching. You have a drink with Renee and she passes out. This brings you to the next day in the West End. The West End is the other side of the tracks, to put it nicely. Neglected by the world and left to rot. As we enter the next day, we've already talked to a few people without any luck, leading us to this apartment. You meet Beverly, one of the missing girls, Leslie's mother. She doesn't want to talk to you or look for her daughter, but her son slips up and mentions Mai, another missing girl. After she leaves for work, you go back and talk to Henry, who will give you the address of the next missing girl. Down the street, you meet Samson, Mai's brother, and an all-around dick. Mai is missing too, and they all worked at the bite. Every angle he's tried to find her has failed. Over my other playthroughs, no matter how well I treated this guy, he still pulls a sword and threatens your life. You convince him to calm the hell down and that we're on the same side. He tells you about Rose, yet another girl that has gone missing. Another lady on the street tells you that Florence is Rose's mom and she's down at the factory around the corner. You sneak through the factory to Florence, and she brings you back to her place to take a look around. Florence was the same lady in the alley as started the game, so she recognizes you. You investigate Rose's room and hack the computer to find out that Rose was keeping tabs on all the clientele and the workers at the bite. You learn that someone named Dio helped them get past the wall. Your day concludes back at Renee's talking about your findings. Talk about paying Eddie a visit, the biochemist at Science City, to find out what he knows and more about Project Artifact. Renee gets a phone call, says now's not a good time, has to leave the apartment, and while she's out, you're interrupted by a knock at the door where Clarissa and her goon bust through the door to have a chat with you. Clarissa knows what you've been up to and is wondering what you're going to gain from all this. Clarissa offers for you to work for her and find out the truth. Her goon beats you down and they leave. You give Anatoly a call and ask him to bring some special protection. Anatoly leaves you a gun and drops you off at Science City. You join a walking tour of Science City to get access past the guards at the front. The tour takes a stop at the washrooms, and this is your excuse to leave them behind and search on your own. You head out onto the roof garden where you find Eddie, on a break. Eddie wants nothing to do with you, so you meet up with him in a second. You pull out a newspaper and wait for Eddie to make another appearance. Eddie shows up and you pull your gun at him, demanding that he takes you into his lab. Eddie has some strange things going on in the lab and doesn't want to give you any information, but after a bit of conversing, you convince him to let you into the secret lab. This lab is full of crossbreeding experiments, like Daryl V, who is a combination of a lizard and a canine. You ask about the artifact and Eddie says you can see it for yourself. It's in the hazmat tent. He advises you not to touch anything, and in true Howard fashion, you instantly touch the case holding the artifact. The artifact breaks through the housing and attaches itself to you. This is the beginning of the end for Howard. Next scene, you find yourself back on the street where the parade is taking place. The streets are full of people on floats. Things start taking a strange turn and the floats start becoming based around you and your actions. The street starts getting more flooded as you progress and the atmosphere is obviously changing. I thought this part was very well done. You see floats of yourself and Renee, Clarissa on fire, you with a lab coat on, and one with you eating your own head. The scene ends with meeting Anatoly in an alley and the artifact taking over your body and killing Anatoly. This is where you and the artifact start conversing. There's always a last time that you see everyone. There is always a never again. I exist again. You wake up in a tent under the bridge. A mirror confirms that this wasn't a bad dream and you now have the artifact visibly growing on your back. Larry found you and took you in. You did in fact kill Anatoly. Larry's going to try his best to help you overcome this. Larry advises that you get to know the locals while he attempts to find Renee. You meet Dio, the person responsible for helping people escape the wall. You learn that they all made it except for Mai. First night is uneventful. You chat with Larry about what's next. When you sleep, you speak to the artifact. The artifact knows what is coming and is trying to make you okay with it. Next morning, you meet a few more characters living under the bridge. Larry leaves to find Renee and medicine for you. You chat with Geezer the Goose again, seems wise beyond his kind. You help get ready for dinner and get a nice cutscene and song around the fire with everyone. It's interrupted by Clarissa's goons finding you, capturing you and taking you away. You have another conversation with the artifact and wake up in a storage container trapped. Clarissa tells you there's nothing you can do about this now. They have contained the artifact and that's just too bad it attached itself to you. You attempt to talk to the doctor that's running tests on you while you continue to live in the storage container. They run tests on you daily. From time to time you collect a few objects when they aren't looking. It overall seems grim. You have now become one with the artifact. You convince the doctor to leave the window open for fresh air and Geezer pays you a visit. He came to deliver you a note from Renee. You write back what you can to Renee, but don't have any idea where you actually are. My first playthrough I tried to write something meaningful to Renee, but that doesn't help. You will later discover. My last playthrough I told Renee I was dying, still doesn't help. You eventually find a way to mask your face while they gas you and are able to avoid the test and the doctor lets you go. You are now Clarissa. You get a call from the science minister. He knows stuff has been stolen and expects Clarissa has something to do with it. You leave the back room and have a chat with Renee, who your goon found and brought to you. You try to convince Renee that you should team up and be on the right side of history for once. Society's about to collapse, the apes will no longer have control, and the revolution is upon us. Clarissa tells Renee what happened to Howard and how she's going to tear down the wall and free the people of the city once and for all. She gives Renee 2 days to decide her answer. We cut back to Renee's apartment where Renee has a conversation with her boss. She says she's had enough. She tells him to pound sand and to finish writing the book himself. She says she's no longer going to be a puppet for his enjoyment. She finds a note from Howard Geezer left and makes peace with the situation. She makes some tea and calls Howard's mom. The artifact speaks to Howard again. We are at peace. We have become. There is no escape. You are beyond the wall. You are walking through the desert. You are alone. You see the crumbling city behind you. You collapse. The artifact overtakes you, and you die. The end.